Hello and welcome back to my weekly podcast. You can listen to this podcast on YouTube Music and on Spotify, and you can also watch it on YouTube. Now, in today's episode, I want to discuss transformative learning and visionary leadership. Now, you might think, well, I spoke about this in the past, but it's like I say, this is all I think about, and this is all I talk about. And I want to start with an example. I've got this friend who used to be a small-time digital marketer, and around about the time that ChatGPT came out, he took an interest in it, and he started tinkering with it. And soon enough, he found himself implementing it in his business and it becoming a very useful tool to expedite a lot of the tasks that he usually did in his business, or he usually paid for, or usually took a lot of time to do. And so from ChatGPT, he went into DALL-E and he went to other AI tools. And within a space of a few months, he became something of a guru. And he found himself advising other businesses on how to use it. Today, a couple of years later, he goes all over the world consulting businesses on how they can use AI effectively in their own businesses. Now, how cool is that? From not knowing anything about AI to becoming a global, international consultant to businesses on the subject of AI. Now, this is an example of visionary leadership. This is a perfect example of what I talk about. A visionary leader is a person who looks at an opportunity, formulates a vision for it. His initial vision must have been, I just want to learn this. Then that vision evolved into a bigger vision. I want to implement this into my business. And then that vision evolved into an even bigger vision. I want to help other businesses to use this technology and to find success with it. So you see, at every step, he was incorporating and formulating a new vision all the time. Now, when I talk about visionary leadership, perhaps people think about leadership in a community or political leadership, but it's not that. It's every single one of us in all of our positions in life, in all our situations in life, at work, at home, wherever we are, we need to be leaders. And we need to be not just leaders, but visionary leaders, leaders who can look at the future, formulate a picture about what that future is going to be like, and work towards that picture, and come up with an actual real-world implementation of what that picture should be like. So, if you're a business person, for example, then your vision is around your business. Your vision revolves around your business and what it's going to be like in the next year, 2 years, 5 years. See, that's vision. If you're a parent, then you have a certain vision for your children. What will my child be doing in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? So you've already formulated a vision. If you're a teacher, it's the same. So no matter who you are and where you are, whatever type of work you are in, you need to plan for the future. I mean, sometimes I think about animals, right? An animal or a bird wakes up in the morning, hungry, goes out, foraging, looking for food, flying from place to place, hopping about, picking up little seeds and little crumbs and little worms and eating. And in the evening, it goes home fully satiated, goes onto its tree and sleeps. There's no vision there. There's nothing that it needs to plan for. It doesn't plan for the next day. It doesn't store anything for the next day. It wakes up hungry, it goes and eats, it goes back home satiated, full. If it didn't find anything, if it didn't find enough to eat, well, that's just one of those things. So animals have this luxury of living life by the day, living life for the moment. As human beings, on the other hand, we don't have that luxury. We need to have a vision. We need to do some planning because we find ourselves in situations all the time where people depend on us, right? Our partners depend on us, our children depend on us, our employees depend on us, our students depend on us. So we need to have a vision for how we are going to lead these people into the future. And I'm not talking about the futuristic future, I'm just talking about the next few months or years in your own business, in your own family, in your own life. I'm not talking about formulating some kind of new and life-changing, world-changing technology or AI. I'm not talking about that. Now, this visionary leadership is probably the most crucial skill that anybody can learn in today's day and age. Why? It's because we are living in the most uncertain times in the history of mankind. Think about it. With the rate that technology is changing things, instead of the rate plateauing or slowing down, it's accelerating. This is the weird thing about technology. Ever since we entered the age of technology, ever since we entered that second and the third industrial revolutions, people predicted that this technology is going to go up, it's going to make some massive progress, and then it's going to plateau, and then it'll slow down. But it didn't. With every new technology that emerged, it went up, and just when we thought it's going to plateau, it went up again because there was some new development. And just when we thought that was going to reach its limit, it went up again. So the rate of change is increasing rather than slowing down. And that's weird, right? So think about it. When machines were first invented, when factories started implementing machines, steam-powered machines, well, at that point we thought it's going to be leveling out. But then computers came into the picture, and then there was another growth spurt. And then the computer age was soon followed by the internet age. And just as that was about to slow down, then came the age of social media, and then came the age of e-commerce, and now comes the age of artificial intelligence. And this is promising to change our world more radically and faster than ever before. What's the world going to look like in the future? I don't know. There's not an expert in this world that can tell you with certainty in the next 5 years the world is going to look like this, or in the next 6 months the world is going to look like this. Anybody who says that is probably delusional, or they are lying to you. No one can tell with absolute certainty what the world is going to be like. The best that we can do is to look at the world around us, gather as much knowledge as we can about what's going on in the world of technology, in the world of artificial intelligence, and then draw up the best picture that we possibly can about where all of this is heading, and then work towards preparing for that picture. I mean, ask any business person. Business is the most uncertain place that you can be at. But the thing is, a businessman is not disillusioned by this, is not discouraged by this. The business person takes this as a challenge to try and predict what's going to happen in the future of my business, and to have different contingencies in place. If A happens, then I will do this. If B happens, then I will do that. So they have a number of contingent plans for what that business will look like, or what shape it will take in the future. Which brings me to the subject of entrepreneurial thinking. Because entrepreneurial thinking and visionary leadership just go together so perfectly. Because in my opinion, every entrepreneur is a visionary, and every entrepreneur is a leader. It's because when you start a business, you have a picture in your mind of what you want to achieve. You just cannot start a business without having that picture in mind. In your mind, you are, okay, I'm going to go online and I'm going to sell XYZ product, and I'm going to make X amount of money in X amount of time. That's your vision. Your business plan is your vision. And then what happens? The moment you start implementing that vision, you start realizing that you need leadership skills. How? You need self-leadership. And then as you start hiring people, as your business grows and you start hiring, then you have to become a leader for your team. And that's why I feel that entrepreneurship is the very manifestation of visionary leadership. It's the perfect manifestation of visionary leadership. And that's why every school and every university should be teaching entrepreneurial thinking. Listen to me, I'm repeating myself. Every school and every university needs to teach entrepreneurial thinking. And if they are not teaching entrepreneurial thinking, then they are not preparing their learners for the future. Now, I came across an article, actually a friend of mine sent it to me, the author. He's a lecturer at a university, at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Dr. Rudy Kimi. So he sent me this article he wrote, and the title of the article is The Imperative for the Entrepreneurial University. And he starts this article with this quote. Listen to this. He says, "The world doesn't care about what you know. The world only cares about what you can do with what you know. And it doesn't care how you learned it." This is actually a quote from Thomas Friedman, a New York Times columnist that Dr. Kimi quoted. Now, the whole crux of the article is this, that in South Africa as a country, the age group between 15 and 34 years old has an unemployment rate of 45.5%. Nearly half of all the youth from 15 to 34 years old are unemployed in South Africa. Okay, granted, 15, 16, 17, 18, those kids are still at school. But those amount to maybe 1 million, 1.5 million. The rest of them have finished school and they are unemployed. Many of them have finished university and are still unemployed. A friend at one of the universities in South Africa said that in the past 5 years they produced 50 PhD graduates. Out of those, only 5 are employed. 45 unemployed, 10% employment rate among PhDs. So Dr. Kimi, he argues the same thing that I'm telling you, that universities should teach entrepreneurial skills. Why? For 2 reasons. One is that not every graduate is going to get a job. Let's just face that reality. Because there aren't enough jobs for every single one of the graduates that are coming out of university. That's the one. The second thing is that those who don't get jobs, what do? Do they just sit around relying on welfare, relying on their parents, waiting for something to happen? Or do they take ownership of their lives? Obviously, it's the latter. They need to take ownership of their lives. If you can't find a job, start a business. And that's why Dr. Kimi feels that these people should be taught entrepreneurial skills. Okay, so how do you go about this? Very simple. You see, what is Dr. Kimi's vision today was our vision at IT Varsity nearly 10 years ago. When I started IT Varsity, our first and flagship course was a course entitled Entrepreneur. Now, if you think about the word entrepreneur, it's actually made up of 2 words, app and entrepreneur. And my vision at that stage was to teach people the technical skills around how to build their own apps. But not just that, but to also teach them entrepreneurial skills so that if they get a job, well and good, they can go into a job. But if they don't, then they can convert their skills that they have, their app development skills, into a business, just like I did. When I couldn't get a job, I started a little business. And even after I got my job, I started a little business. And that business started to pay me more than my job was paying me. And so I eventually left my job and I just focused on my business. That's the nature of business. Business gives you unlimited earning potential. And a person who knows entrepreneurial skills will never starve. Why? Because I could take that person, pluck him out of his life with his work, his family, his business, and place him into a foreign land where he knows nobody. Within a couple of days, this person will be operating. Why? Because this person is a hunter. A business person, an entrepreneur is a hunter. An entrepreneur hunts for opportunities, and when he finds those opportunities, he learns how to seize those opportunities. Or in other words, an entrepreneur looks for a problem, solves that problem, and makes somebody pay for that solution. That's entrepreneurship in a nutshell. Find a problem, solve the problem, and make somebody pay for that problem. If you think about any business that operates in the world, they are solving a problem for somebody. Why else would somebody take out their money and give it to you? Why? Their hard-earned money, because they are seeing value in what you are giving them. You are solving some kind of problem for them or the other. So that's entrepreneurship. So at ID Varsity, this has been always our vision. Now, even though we parked that qualification, entrepreneur, up till today, every qualification that you do with us, even if it's a software engineering qualification, you learn entrepreneurial skills. Why? Because I'm preparing my learners for the eventuality that you will not get a job. And instead, you will have to fend for yourself. You will have to become an entrepreneur. You'll have to become a hunter. And there's nothing wrong with this. If you look at countries like Bangladesh, they've built their economies on entrepreneurship, and specifically on IT freelancing. India's economy went from being one of the poorest countries to one of the richest countries in the world. How? A lot of it had to do with IT freelancing. When I went to India in 2007, the IT freelancing industry was already in full bloom. I met developers in Bangalore and Hyderabad who were working for companies like Microsoft and Google while they were living in India from those years. So they were ready for it from then. And Bangladesh did something very interesting. They went into their villages and to their rural areas and to their informal settlements, and they started training people on tech skills. And not just tech skills, but tech and entrepreneurship skills. Now, if you've got tech and entrepreneurship skills together, you will rule the world. So these people were trained in those skills, and they were taught how to go out into the world and look for business from around the world, not just in your community, not just in your settlement, not just in your farm, but globally. Look for opportunities globally. And that's why today, Bangladesh has almost 500,000 IT freelancers. Not the IT workforce. I'm talking about IT freelancers in that country. 500,000. Now let's do some calculations. Where's my phone? Calculator app. I'm opening up my calculator app because I want to do a calculation for you, right? Let's do this calculation together. 500,000, 500,000 people. Have I got enough zeros? Right, there we go. 500,000 times, let's say each one is earning a modest amount, $500. Modest, $500 a month times 500. In total, they are earning $250 million a month. Times 12, I don't know, my calculator has gone a bit weird. 3 billion. $3 billion US dollars per annum is being pumped into the economy of this country. At the very least, I gave them an earning of $500, which is literally not a lot of money. I mean, even in South African rands, it's what, times almost 20, that's 5,000, maybe 10,000 rands, just short of 10,000 rands. $3 billion pumped into the economies. Somebody asked me at a conference that I spoke at, what do I envision the townships of the future to look like in South Africa? And my answer was simple. I envision that every township will become a technology hub. So when you go into the township, you will see hundreds of young people, all highly skilled, highly trained in IT skills, web designers, digital marketers, digital photographers, copywriters, content creators, video editors, you name it, they are there. They will be there. And they will be doing freelance work for companies all over the world. And they'll be living in the townships, working in the townships, doing business globally, bringing the money into the townships, spending that money in the townships. and growing that township economy. So you could, in the future, and this is my vision, you could go into a township and go to one of these hubs where all these young people are working and say, I'm looking for a web designer, and 20 or 30 hands will go up. I'm looking for a photographer, 20 or 30 hands go up. And they're all working together, supplementing each other's skills. Let's take an example. Let's say there's a company in the US that says, look, we need a website to be developed. Now, to develop a website, you need a web designer, you need a graphic designer, a copywriter, a photographer, right? So it's difficult for one person to have all those skills. So 4 of them will get together and say, well, look, let's work together. I'll design the website, you write the copy, you do the photography, you do the graphics. And we'll all submit this work together, and we'll get our payday together. That's what the townships of the future is going to look like. And that's what currently South Africa is missing out. That's why 45% of our youth are unemployed. The most valuable resource of this country is sitting untapped. Why? Because they are sitting at home waiting for somebody to do something for them. And that is very, very sad. If they were given entrepreneurial skills in school and in university, in college, then they would have got up and said, look, this is an untenable situation. I need to go out and I need to do something for myself. I need to go and earn a living for myself. I need to start a business. And there's never been a better time in the history of mankind to start a business than now. And I'm not saying this lightly. Here's an example. I mean, I'm coming from a retail background. My family were all in retail. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, if you needed to start a business, you needed to have so much of money and so much of resources, and it was such a headache and so full of risk that not everybody could do it. In those years, if somebody said, well, I want to start a business, you need premises, you need fixtures and fittings, you need staff, operational expenses, stocks. That would amount to the millions. If you had a rich uncle, or you had a rich father-in-law, or some rich contacts, you could start a business. Otherwise, you just didn't have that opportunity. Today, with nothing more than your cell phone, you can start a business. And people find that hard to believe. Why do people find it hard to believe? I know people who are running businesses with their cell phones and doing well for themselves, traveling all over the world. But I'm not going to talk about that. I've already done a webinar on that. 6 business ideas you can run from your mobile phone alone. Go to the IT Varsity YouTube channel, you'll see it there. The recording of the webinar is there. So what happens now? Parents, it starts with you. What you are bringing up in your home is a future visionary leader. You are not bringing up an employee. The days of the employees are over. Employers want entrepreneurial thinkers. They want problem solvers. So no matter what career your child is going to get into, he or she is going to need to be a visionary leader. He or she is going to need to navigate the uncertain world that we are living in the world of AI, when we don't even know what tomorrow will bring. So think like a visionary leader and bring up a visionary leader. Start from small, teaching them problem-solving skills, critical thinking, entrepreneurial thinking. Get them used to technology. How do you solve problems with technology? Not sitting hours upon hours and just watching videos and wasting time playing video games. Not that. I'm talking about constructive use of technology. Embrace it yourself. And if you want to learn how to embrace it, I've started a whole playlist this week on YouTube. It's called Tech for Parents and Teachers. I've already put out a tutorial for parents, a coding tutorial just for parents. Father to fathers, father to mothers, I'm teaching you how to do this. And I'll be putting out lots and lots more content. Learn technology and go and teach it to your kids. Work with them to use the technology constructively. Put pressure on your schools to teach entrepreneurial thinking. Choose a tertiary institute for your child that teaches entrepreneurial skills side by side with technical skills. He wants to become a chef. Make sure they are teaching him entrepreneurial skills. Your daughter wants to be a software engineer. Make sure she's learning entrepreneurial skills. And that is how we will produce visionary leaders of the future who will go out and transform entire industries, will transform entire countries. And that is my message for today. See you next time.